Heat between AEW superstar Dax Harwood and WWE Hall of Famer Shawn Michaels dating back to the 25th anniversary edition of Monday Night Raw. AJ Styles signs a new contract with WWE. We have a new number one contender for the NXT Championship. Plus, Pat McAfee has discussed Cody Rhodes possibly returning to WWE. All this and more in today's WWE News. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into today. So let's start off talking about this Dax Harwood story when it comes to Shawn Michaels, because it's a really interesting, eye-opening one. A lot of people have been talking about it. A lot of people got different opinions on it. So I'm really interested to see how you guys think about this story, what you guys think, your perspective on it. So let me know your thoughts on this story in the comment section below. Now, this stems from January of 2018. Now, in January of 2018, WWE celebrated Monday Night Raw's 25th anniversary episode, where the show featured many legends returning, including the likes of The Click, Chris Jericho, Stone Cold Steve Austin. It was the show which was also simultaneously broadcast from the Manhattan Center in New York and also the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York as well. Two locations during the same show. Now, during their appearance on the show, Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler, the Revival, at the time in WWE, were beat down by Triple H, Shawn Michaels, X-Pac, Scott Hall, and the New Age Outlaws. It was a Click reunion mixed in with a bit of a D-Generation X as well. Now, why are we talking about this? Well, as a special guest on the latest episode of The Sessions with Renee Paquette, Dax Harwood joined the show to speak about his transition he made from WWE to AEW, a variety of issues really, his battle with anxiety, bulimia, and he also talked about why he thinks Bret Hart is the greatest wrestler of all time, certainly his favorite wrestler growing up. And when talking about Bret Hart's feud with Shawn Michaels, Harwood actually revealed that he had a bad experience with Shawn Michaels at Raw's 25th anniversary episode. So it's quite a lengthy story here, but I think it's worth talking about here. So he said, quote, "For a lot of guys, it's like, oh, it's a paycheck, who cares? But not to me. There's a legacy I want to leave, but that happened when I talked to Shawn. That was the first time we had talked since the Performance Center days. I told him, man, this happened. I tore my bicep, went through a really dark period, thought I was going to quit, but thankfully I have the greatest wife in the world, and she has supported me and brought me out of this funk and out of this dark place, and I'm here now. I'm super happy," he said. And then Shawn Michaels said, "I was the same way. I was in this very dark spot. That my wife, she's beautiful. She pulled me out of this dark spot too. You and your partner are way too talented to be doing what you're doing tonight," referencing, being beat down by the Click. "You're way too talented to stay at this point. Just keep your nose to the ground and keep grinding and you'll get over." And Dax reportedly said, "Oh, Shawn, thank you so much." So he continues, quote, "We had this bonding moment and then we sort of got in front of his friends." Dax Harwood continued to say, "X-Pac, Hunter, Billy Gunn, Road Dogg, Scott Hall. And as soon as we got in front of his friends, he started making fun of me and making fun of my situation and what happened with my bicep. I was like, man, I just poured my heart out to you. And as soon as we get in front of your friends, because we're going over and they're going to beat the shit out of us, you decide to take all that stuff and make fun of me about it." Now, that's quite heavy, but he continues. He revealed that the only person that actually contacted him and spoke to him after that event was Sean Watman, X-Pac. He said, quote, "I never ever forgot it, and as soon as we were done with the business at Raw, one person that said thank you to us, and that was Sean Watman. Everyone else was so cold to us, treated us like we were shit on the bottom of our shoes, except for Sean Waltman. I'll never forget that from Sean, and I hope there's a day that comes where we can have a conversation and I can ask him why he did that and we can reconcile if he wants to. If I love you, I love you, and if I don't, I don't." So this has caused quite a lot of conversation and discussion on social media, particularly because I recall seeing a tweet that an ex-WWE writer put out saying that the Revival were difficult to deal with on a particular episode of Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania 35, and he openly mocked the writer in front of the entire dressing room, all that kind of stuff. To that, I would respond that those are two completely different things. I know he's trying to point out that, well, yes, you're upset because you got made fun of in front of a group of people, but you did the same thing to us, or same thing to me, in front of the entire locker room. And I would say, whilst they are making fun of people in front of people, I would also say that one's a promo, maybe a badly written promo, maybe a promo that has bad creative. Go back and watch the episode of Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania 35. Was it great? will we talking about Shakespearean dialect here? Probably not. The other is a conversation between two pro wrestlers, one of which is him pouring his heart out to, an icon, a legend, a Hall of Famer, saying, look, I tore my bicep and my partner was injured and I was having a real struggle with mental health and my wife helped me get out of it. I didn't know I was ever going to be coming back, and now I'm back here, and yeah, the creative tonight isn't great, but I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy. And then for Shawn Michaels to say to him, I can really empathize with that. I was in a similar place and my wife got me out of that as well. Just keep doing what you're doing. You can do this and it's great to have you here. And then 5 minutes later, if the story is true, of course, but 5 minutes later, for Shawn Michaels to be back in front of his Click buddies and being like, that guy tore his bicep and now he's coming back and we're going to bury him, blah, blah, blah. Wow, that is something. And those are the stories that we heard about Shawn Michaels in the late 90s, in the mid-90s of the infamous days of the Click. And that's terrible. That's absolutely terrible. And it certainly shines a light on Shawn Michaels in a different situation. Now, granted, there are so many pro wrestlers in WWE right now, in NXT or on the main roster, that say, man, Shawn Michaels was great to me in NXT. He was awesome. What a great teacher. What a great mentor, what a great guy. And that version of Shawn Michaels doesn't exist anymore. So many people say the Shawn Michaels now and then is completely different. So it's up to you, I suppose, who you want to believe. But it's not a great story. It's not a great story from the perspective of Shawn Michaels. And, someone, myself, who is a mental health advocate, I look at that and I go, wow, that is not great. And that's rough. And yeah, I'm still kind of trying to digest, honestly, how I really do feel about it. Because I think with any story, you have to take things with everything with a pinch of salt and say, well, there's two sides to every story. I'm sure Shawn Michaels might not even recall the situation, or he might say, no, that wasn't what happened. So that's worth pointing out as well. But from the perspective of Dax Harwood, I could absolutely understand why he would be annoyed and frustrated and hurt, frankly, by that. Not just as the creative that night sucked. And they talk about the Raw 25th anniversary event as a real precursor as to why they ultimately decided, we're done here in WWE, because that tag team wrestling wasn't being taken seriously and they're being, taken out by, granted, a bunch of legends, but a bunch of legends that aren't going to be there the following week. And then they question why the revival, why are they not over? So it's a strange story, but I'm interested to know what you guys think. So let me know what you think in the comment section below about that one. Let's talk about AJ Styles, because AJ Styles has signed a new contract with WWE. This was broken last night. That AJ Styles has reportedly signed a multi-million-dollar contract with WWE. Now, it was recently reported that Styles has signed a new multi-year contract with the company. But in an update, Fightful Select has reported that Styles landed more than $3 million per year when all was said and done. Styles also had some additional bus travel accommodations paid for by WWE with this new deal. A WWE source noted that Styles, quote, deserved every penny and that he would easily make that back for the company. Styles' original contract with WWE was set to expire in the spring/summer and would have had him hit free agency for the first time since leaving New Japan before he signed with WWE in 2016. WWE officials expected Styles to have plenty of suitors, and word is that that was the case with some other big names in the company. WWE wanted to get AJ's deal extended before he could even hit free agency and talk to any other promotions. So this is interesting. I mean, AJ Styles did quite a few interviews before the Royal Rumble when he was on the media row, and he spoke about him being very happy in WWE. He doesn't want to go anywhere else. He has no real interest in going anywhere else. He wants to stay with WWE until they don't want him anymore or he decides to retire. I think it's kind of curious because I recall the last big discussion about AJ Styles when it came to his possible future was in 2019, right before, because it was him and the Good Brothers. Their contracts were coming up at the same time. They signed 3-year deals in 2016 when they came in, and the discussion was, where are they going to go? AEW was just becoming a thing. Of course, AJ Styles has connections with the people in AEW, specifically the Good Brothers have huge connections there, and they were debating, where are they going to go? What are we going to do? And it was reportedly the trip that had the Good Brothers and AJ Styles teaming with Triple H in Japan, and Triple H was really on the charm offensive at the time and got AJ Styles and the Good Brothers to re-sign. The Good Brothers were gone less than a year later because of the pandemic and the fallout with Paul Heyman, all that kind of stuff. But at the time, when AJ Styles signed that new contract with WWE, it was reported that basically, he this was going to be his last deal. He said this is going to be my final contract with WWE, and It's my last big deal. It's a lot of money, and after that, I'm going to retire. So when I saw that AJ Styles had re-signed with WWE, I went, well, it's probably not his last contract then. So that was the only thing I thought. I never in a million years thought that AJ Styles would lead the company. Again, he's very happy there. Every interview he does, he says about how happy he is there. He likes it. I think that he knows that, he's essentially got a job there for the rest of his time. He gets on very well with Vince McMahon, gets on very well with everyone there, apart from Paul Heyman, and they've been very flexible with him when it comes to his schedule as well. When he moved back to SmackDown during a couple of years ago during the pandemic, he got moved back to Raw because on Fridays, I think he either coaches or watches his son's college football team or something of that nature. So they're very flexible when it comes to him. And he's still, even at his age, whilst he's not the pro wrestler he once was, he is still one of the best pro wrestlers in the world today. He's in that conversation top 5 in the world right now. So WWE didn't want to lose AJ Styles, and he's become that disrespected veteran on the roster. Multiple time WWE champion. He's won everything, apart from the Universal Championship, but he's won everything pretty much in WWE. There's only a handful of things for him left to do. And he's the exception to the rule when it comes to that guy that came from outside of WWE, became a star, if you want to call him that, in TNA and Impact Wrestling. And we've seen so many times, even today, in today's age, of people that get over in another place, whether it is NXT, but whether it's another company, they come in, they don't succeed. AJ Styles is the exception to the rule. And the reason he's the exception to the rule is because he's just that good. That even Vince McMahon, who doesn't like people from outside of the company, went, man, this guy's unbelievable. So, and he got over quick, multiple time WWE champion. And I think Vince McMahon's only regret when it comes to AJ Styles is that he didn't sign him sooner. That's the only thing. So AJ Styles is sticking around with WWE for many years to come, and he deserves it, absolutely. We have a new number 1 contender for the NXT Championship, that being Raw superstar Dolph Ziggler. Last night's NXT 2.0 main event saw Ziggler defeat Tommaso Ciampa to earn a future title shot from Bron Breakker. The finish saw Robert Roode, dressed as a ringside cameraman, attack Ciampa with a camera, which allowed Ziggler to get the win. Now, there's no word on when Ziggler versus Breakker for the NXT Championship will take place, but Breakker cut a promo earlier on in the show and indicated he'll be defending his title against the new number 1 contender at NXT Stand and Deliver. So that would make sense. This is the first TV mention of Stand and Deliver, which is scheduled for Saturday, April 2nd from the American Airlines Center in Dallas, just a few hours before night 1 of WrestleMania 38. So it would look like Dolph Ziggler isn't going to be wrestling at WrestleMania 38, certainly night 1, unless he does, back-to-back in a couple of hours. It looks like he's going to be wrestling on NXT, which it depends how you want to look at it. As long as the payday was the same, I wouldn't mind. If I'm Dolph Ziggler, what's he going to be doing at WrestleMania? Being the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal? Or would you rather, a few hours earlier, inside of an arena, main event for the NXT Championship? He's not going to win. He's still going to become the NXT Champion, but I think that's... if I'm Dolph Ziggler, I wouldn't have a problem with that. And it's different, and I'm interested to see it. Bron Breakker, he's going to have a good match, because who can't have a good match of Dolph Ziggler? So I'm curious. And when it comes to this crossover, we've seen quite a few recent appearances on Raw by talents from the company's NXT brand, and apparently it's only the beginning. The crossover storylines are expected to continue, according to the Wrestling Observer newsletter's Dave Meltzer. The latest NXT performer to appear on Raw is Tommaso Ciampa. As I mentioned, he teamed up with Finn Balor against Ziggler and Roode on Monday's episode of Raw. And Meltzer stated that the strategy since the launch of NXT 2.0 last September has been to do more crossover angles on Raw. Meltzer said WWE officials want to see at least one main roster talent involved with the NXT brand at all times, with a storyline that plays out across both shows. The preference is for the main roster talent to come from Raw because, of course, they're both on the USA Network, so it wouldn't make a ton of sense for that to play out on Fox, unless, of course, you wanted viewers, which the viewers are on Fox. That's the situation there. But the first crossover, of course, we saw was AJ Styles and Grayson Waller. Now we're seeing Ziggler and Bron Breakker and Tommaso Ciampa. Again, that's going to continue. I find it humorous because it is something that Triple H, I know, wanted to see more main roster talents come into NXT, and it didn't happen at the time. Maybe because they were being treated as real separate entities, I suppose, but with NXT now becoming developmental once again, and, you know, the brand split meaning nothing, I guess WWE are like, well, why not? Why not have some crossover? And that's what we're looking at there. Pat McAfee has commented on Cody Rhodes possibly coming to WWE. During the Pat McAfee show this week, this is what he had to say. Quote, I guess Cody Rhodes is coming to WWE, I guess. Who cares, dude? Him and his little friend started something. It was terrible. We actually went head-to-head on Wednesday. We beat them a couple of different times. Who cares, dude? To hell with Cody Rhodes. Now people are going, I think I'm starting an angle with Cody Rhodes. Then he said he was joking, of course. He said, I'm actually pretty pumped if Cody's coming back. Obviously, a massive name in sports entertainment. If he's coming to SmackDown, I'm excited about it. Cody Rhodes is going to be cool, though, in WWE. Put him back as Stardust. Seeing him, what he's done in AEW, and seeing what he's been doing, what he was doing in WWE, I can see why maybe he wanted to leave WWE. But if he's back, he's back. I'm excited about it. So, Pat McAfee, that first bit was joking because, of course, NXT barely beat AEW in the Wednesday Night Wars. But, you know, people might look at this, go, confirm Cody Rhodes is coming back. Pat McAfee on SmackDown is completely different to the Pat McAfee on the Pat McAfee show. If you've watched the Pat McAfee show, you'll know that he's just like, he just talks and he's just him. The credit to Pat McAfee is that he's the same guy. But, you know, on the Pat McAfee show, he can curse, he can do whatever he wants. It's his show. And WWE are very happy to have him. But it's just the latest in the Cody Rhodes WWE speculation, isn't it? Finally, Bianca Bellerin Dewdrop got some rave reviews for their match on Raw on Monday. The Belair vs. Dewdrop match reportedly received rave reviews backstage, according to PW Insider. The match also received similar praise on social media, and it should. It was a great match. They've got great chemistry. It's not the first time they faced off. Of course, they had this sort of TV feud towards the end of last year, didn't they? And I think a lot of people, this is what's crazy, isn't it, is that I talked about exceptions to the rules. Piper Niven, Dewdrop, is someone that got called up to the main roster. Again, the creative sucked. She was the bodyguard for Eva Marie, and the name sucked. But sometimes, not all the times, but sometimes, if you got talent and you can work and you can make the best of the bad that they give you, you can still get over. And that's what Dewdrop's done. And she's a quality worker, and I'm thrilled to see Piper Niven getting the spotlight that she deserves. But anyway, guys, be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.